I get somebody to clap their hands? Tell the Lord, thank you. Has God been good to you today? I need to hear you. Has God really been good to you? Has He brought you out of something this week? Has He brought you through something this week? Have you had a hard time this week but you're still hanging in there? How many of you know when you're hanging in there? You're a little tired but you're hanging in there. You're a little weary sometimes but you're hanging in there. I need y'all to talk back to me. Lift your hand and tell God, thank you for bringing me to Sunday morning. Thank you for bringing me to the hospital. Thank you for bringing me to this pit stop. Thank you for bringing me to this place of correction. Thank you for bringing me to this place of deliverance. Thank you for bringing me here this morning one more time. Amen. Amen. If you have your Bibles, we're going to go to the book of Exodus, chapter 17. Exodus chapter 17, and I'm going to start reading at 11, verse 11. Mine may read a little different. I got this NIV version because I really want you to understand it and understand how I'm coming, where I'm coming from with this, and where I'm going to attempt to go with it. Read both versions though. So I'm going to read the King James Version first. Starting at verse 11. Exodus 17, verse 11. You got to say amen. And if you can, stand for the reading of God's word. Exodus 17 and verse 11 says, and it came to pass when Moses held up his hand that Israel prevailed. And when he let his hand down, Amalek prevailed. But Moses' hands were heavy, and they took a stone and put it under him, and he sat thereon, and Aaron and Hur stayed up his hand, the one on the one side and the other on the other side, and his hands were steady until the going down of the sun. Amen. And you may be seated, but the NIV version says, for some younger people here that may not understand, says, as long as Moses held up his hands, the Israelites were winning. But whenever he lowered his hands, the Amalekites were winning. When Moses' hands grew tired, they took a stone and put it under him, and he sat on it. Aaron and Hur held his hands up, one on one side, one on the other, so that his hands remained steady till sunset. So Joshua overcame the Amalekite army with the sword. Amen. And I want to talk from the subject of keep your hands up. Yeah. Keep your hands up. That's the topic that I want to come from. Now, the author of this book is the prophet Moses. And Moses is the author of this book. And at this time, the Israelites were at Rephidim. And out of nowhere, Amalek came and attacked Israel. Now, Amalek was the grandson of Esau, which made them and the Israelites relatives. But that didn't matter to them. They still wanted to attack them. The reason why they wanted to attack them was simply because they felt threatened by them. Simply because they knew about the promise of the land of Canaan that had been given to Esau's twin brother, which was Jacob. Y'all know the story about Jacob and Esau. Now, isn't it amazing how grandchildren or different generations are dealing with problems that have started from way back when? And some of us are going through that right now. We're dealing with generational curses. We're dealing with stuff because grandmama, granddaddy, or great-grandmama, granddaddy made a wrong decision or did something wrong back in the day, and now we're having to fight the same battles they fight the same giants they fight, the generational curses that have been passed down. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Stuff that we deal with on the inside of our families and stuff that we deal with. And sometimes we have to ask ourselves when we're going to break this generational curse. How many of y'all dealing with some stuff? I know you're dealing with some stuff on the inside of your family that just doesn't make any sense for you. You have to pay for things that your grandparents or that your ancestors have done. Amen. Amen. Some of us, we're still dealing with, I'm not talking to my auntie or talking to my great auntie because of something that they did to your mother, or they didn't even do it to you, but they did it to your mother or your great grandmother. I'm not talking to them just because of what your parents or your grandparents have told you about them or what they did to them. But you want to run along in that same generational curse, all because of something that was done in the past. Now, this is pretty much what's going on right here, that the Amalekites want to attack Israel because of a promise that was made to them that was made to Jacob. All because of some stuff that was done in the past. Now, Moses told, I'm just bringing you up to speed, Moses told Joshua to choose some men to go and fight the Amalekites, and he said that tomorrow I will position myself on the top of a hill with the staff of God in my hand. And Moses chose Joshua to lead a group of Israelite warriors to defend the people. And Moses also promised that he would observe this battle on a hill. And he took a rod with him, which was that he called the rod of God, or the staff of God. This would give the warriors confidence, knowing that the power of God was with them. Now, then if you go on, Moses held up his hand and he was holding his staff high. And as long as he held his hands up high, Israel was winning the fight. But when he dropped his hand, then the Amalekites will begin to prevail. Now Moses, what he was doing was he was engaging in some spiritual intercession while the people were fighting. And Moses was pretty much taking a posture of prayer. That's what he was doing on top of this hill. He was praying that Joshua and his warriors would prevail. He was praying for the victory in the fight. Now, eventually, what happens is Moses began to get tired and his arms grew tired. So Aaron and Hur, they went up and they got a stone for him to sit on. So that lets you know that Moses was standing up and he was holding the staff up, and he began to get weary during this fight. How many of you all get weary in this fight called life? And this thing called life, you're battling warfare, you're battling stuff going on in your mind, you're battling things in your family, battling things just all from every which way in every direction, and you get a little tired sometimes. So this is what happened. Moses began to get tired, and so Hur and Aaron went up to assist him. All right. They noticed that every time that he held his hand up, that Israelites was winning, but every time he dropped, then they began to get defeated. So they put a stone up under him for him to sit on, and then one stood on one side and one stood on the other side to hold up his arms steady so that they could prevail in this fight. And they did it till the sun came down. Now Moses, look, he was a godly leader. He was their leader. He was a servant for the Lord, but he couldn't do the work of the Lord on his own. He couldn't do the work of the Lord by himself. He couldn't do what he was called to do by himself. So what I'm trying to let you know, that we as leaders, that sometimes you got to hold your pastor up. Sometimes you got to hold each other up. We're all in a position of leadership somewhere, but I just want to let you know sometimes, I get tired too. Sometimes pastors of other churches get tired too. Preachers and ministers get tired too. Deacons get tired too. Mothers get tired too. The choir members get tired too. Anybody that holds a position, sometimes they get tired. Even if it's on your job, you get tired sometimes. You get tired sometimes, and I let you know that you can't do it by yourself. That's something I have to learn right here in the situations that I go through in life. I can't do it by myself. So Green Grove, I'm here to tell you that I can't do this by myself. We have to do this together. Sometimes you have to hold me up in prayer. A lot of times you have to pray for me as well as I pray for you. You got to go down on your knees for me just as well as I go down on my knees for you. You got to hold me up. You got to hold me up. This is a pretty simple sermon. I just want to let you know that in this fight called life, you got to learn how to keep your hands up. Now, y'all know I like to make stuff plain with you, but in a fight, there's a certain position you have to have. There's a certain posture that you have to have. If you know anything about boxing, the first thing they teach you is you got to keep your hands up. There's a certain posture that you got to take when you're boxing. So you can't, you got to keep your hands up. And if you know anything about boxing, the boxing gloves that they have on, I had to learn that the boxing gloves that they have on have weight to them. It's a different type of weight, and your weight goes with your class. You got lightweight, you got heavyweight, you got welterweight. And so your boxing gloves have a certain amount of weight in them, but you got to still keep your hands up. And when you're boxing, if you notice, the first time boxers get tired, what's the first thing they do? And when you drop your hands, you're leaving yourself open for attack. So when you box, I want to let you know that in this spiritual fight, you got to stay in your posture of prayer. So you got to keep your hands up. So that means however you pray, whatever you do, if you pray standing up, you got to pray standing up. If you lift your hand, matter of fact, I would prefer that you lift your hands like Moses did when you're praying, because they're letting you know that God, I surrender all over to you. I surrender it all over to you. So when troubles in life come, I need you to keep your head up. Don't drop your head up. So when troubles come in your life, when you get sickness in your body, you got to keep your hands up. Keep your head up. Stay in your perfected posture of prayer. Stay in that posture that you need to make it through the day. Amen. I know it might not hit you right now, but when you walk out of here, you're gonna understand what I'm saying. You're gonna understand what I'm saying, because what we don't realize is while we're in this place, in these four walls, everything may seem all right. Yeah, it may seem all right, but I need this word right here to sink in your brain and in your mind, and most definitely in your spirit, because something is gonna hit you and gonna attack you, and it may weigh on you so heavy to where it causes you to drop your hand. It may cause you to drop your hands, and as well as drop your hands, it may cause you to drop your head. And when it makes you drop your hands and drop your head, the next thing that's being attacked is your spirit. So I need you to keep your spirit. In your spirit, I need you to keep your hands up. When sickness comes in your life, I need you to keep your hands up. When trouble comes in your life, I need you to keep your hands up. And if you need a little help, the thing I like about it, I get a little excited about this part, because it goes back to another sermon that I preached where it says, I need a boost. So there's two people in this text called Aaron and Hur. They were right there beside Moses on this hill. And they noticed that every time he held his hands up, I wish I had something. I know I like to do stuff, and I like to have prompts, but I didn't have one today. Let's try this. Come on, boy. All right. Let's try this. Come, Pat, I want to use you. And the reason I want to use you is because I heard your prayer this morning. And you sound like you're a little weary. Sound like you're a little weak. Now this is Moses, but I want you to stand up first. Okay. Let me get two more people. Bill, you come right here. I need somebody else. Anybody that come up. Come here, cuz. Come here, cuz. Now, and he called Joshua. Moses told Joshua to find some men to fight the Amalekites. He called them to fight them. And Joshua, if you go back, his word in the Greek is spelled J-E-S-U-S. His name in the Greek is J-E-S-U-S. So I want to let you know, if you just sit in Exodus 14:14, it says, and the Lord will fight your battles if you will just be still. If you would just be still. So you sent Joshua, J-E-S-U-S. I still ain't getting it. You sent Joshua, J-E-S-U-S, to fight. And see, the problem is we try to fight the battle ourselves instead of letting Jesus fight for us. See, the way we're supposed to fight is praying what Moses did. So every time he lifted his hands up, Israel was winning the fight. But when he dropped them down, we lose the fight. So what can make it make sense to you is the moment we drop our hands, because as long as we're like this, we're surrendering to God. and he's fighting the battle. But the only reason why I would take my hands down is because, God, you're taking too long. Let me. I put my hands in it. So you get, yeah, as long as I'm like this, everything is all right. Lord, I surrender to you. You gonna handle this. You handling this thing. You got it. You got it. So as long as he got his hands up, Joshua down there handling his business. He doing it up. He handling his business. But as soon as he dropped them, look, man, I ain't got no money. I don't pay my bill. Let me see how I'm gonna do this. And now we have made ourselves vulnerable for the enemy to attack us. Now the reason why he dropped his hands is because he was getting a little tired. He was getting a little tired. He was getting weary. So what happens is he lifts his hand back up, but it's two people on the side of him that realize that my boy a little tired. My boy a little tired, and he got to win this fight. We got to win this fight. He's going through right now. But he got to win this fight. So what they did was they put their hand one on one side and one on the other. So what we're going to do is lift both hands. So what I'm trying to tell you is you can't do it by yourself. You can't do it by yourself. You got to have some help. So every now and then when your spirit get a little low, you got to hook up with somebody that got a little more faith than you got at that time. Their faith is a little higher than yours at that time to give you a little boost. To give you a little boost. So Pat, I want to encourage you today because I heard your prayer. I heard your voice. Your voice was trembling. It almost sounded like you had tears in your eyes. But I want to let you know that whatever you're going through, you got some help. Just keep your hands up. Keep your hands up. I need to tell somebody here, keep their hands up. Don't drop your hands. Stay in a position of posture. Stay in a position of prayer. If you got to stay down on your knees a little longer, stay down on your knees. Can I be a witness in here? I feel all right tonight. I feel all right right here. I want to encourage you that you may be going through a bad situation right now. But all you got to do is keep your hands up. And if you need a little help, link up with somebody. Link up with somebody that's connected to the source. Because if I can go back when I preached the sermon that you need a little booster, well, if I can go back to that part right there, anytime you jump off a car, you got to pull a car up next to another car. And you got some things called some jumper cables. And all those jumper cables do is send power from one car to the next car. And that car that's been dead for a while will come back to life and begin to run a little while longer. But the most important thing is they got to be connected to the source. They got to be connected to something called an alternator. And my alternator is Jesus Christ. If I can use my spiritual eyes here, I believe that at the time Aaron and her had a little more faith and they had a little more energy in them than Moses did at the time. So what they did was they were connected to God, and they were able to give Moses a little boost for him to keep his hands up. And the Bible said that the hand stayed there and they held his hand steady until the sun went down. And the Israelites, they overcame the battle of the Amalekites. And what I want to let you know is that same staff that Moses had in his hand is the same staff that parted the Red Sea. That same staff that Moses had in his hand is the same staff that brought water from the rock of Horeb. That same staff that Moses had in his hand, it made plagues come across Egypt when he told Pharaoh to let his people go. So what you're trying to say, Reverend Turner, is God is the same yesterday, today, and forevermore. So that same God that healed the blind man, that same God that healed the sick, that same God that brought me from a mighty long way, he can do it for me too. Can I get a witness in here? I need some people in here that know that you're going through. If you can find a little strength right now, lift your hands and keep them in the air. Lift your hands, and while you got them up there, wave them like you just don't care. Wave your troubles away. Wave your sickness away. Wave your poverty away. Wave the Keep your hands up. Keep your hands up. Why? Because when the praises go up, blessings come down. When I'm sick in my body, I'ma keep my hands up. When I'm down in the press, I'ma keep my hands up. When I'm down so low, I'ma keep my hands up. Say yeah, 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 yeah. Keep your hands up. Keep your hands up. I don't see y'all with your hands up. Keep your hands up. Keep your hands up. What you telling me to do, Pastor Turner? Keep on praying. Keep on fasting. Keep on believing. Stay in the correct posture. Even though I'm going through, I'm going to walk with my head held high. Even though I'm going through, I'm going to keep on living this name. Keep your hands in the Lord's hand. Hang it down. Hang it down. Say yeah. Say yeah. Oh yeah. Keep your hands up. Got to keep your hands up. Make it hard sometimes, but keep your hands up. Make it weary sometimes, but you gotta keep your hands up. Keep your hands up. I try to deal with things that deal with me first. Times are getting low, you gotta keep your hands up. Even with tears in your eye, keep your hands up. I'm not saying to walk around like everything is all right all the time, but the thing that I like about it is that Aaron and her, they noticed, they paid attention, that every time Moses kept his hands up, that they were winning the fight. But when he dropped, they started losing. They noticed it. And that means they had a connection with each other. So what I'm saying is, connect yourself with people that can have a discernment of when you're dealing with stuff, when you're going through stuff. Because all the time, people not just going to open up and say it, what they're going through, what they're dealing with. But when you're in the body of Christ, we ought to be able to know and just be able to look at you and tell that you're going through something, that you're dealing with something. And I can be able to prop you up on one side, and if you got another friend, they can prop you up on the other side and tell you to keep your hands up. Keep your head up and keep fighting. The doors of the church are open.